Hey guys, welcome back to the Trademark Sports YouTube channel. Today we're talking all things 2025 breakout stars for every single team, because it's one of the most exciting things as an NRL sports fan is watching your team, and especially when you're a fan of like a bottom 8, bottom 9 club, who's going to be the next guy to come through and give your club a bit of hope. And when you're those teams between like 5th and 8th, like who's going to be the next guy to take us to the next level, the top 4, take us to a prelim grand final, who's going to take us to a grand final, win us a comp. Breakout stars are one of the most exciting things in the whole of rugby league, in my opinion. So the way we're going to work today is we're going to go from the ladder from last year, work our way from the bottom all the way up to the top, talking about who I think is going to be a breakout star for you to watch for your team, and yeah, pretty much get into it from there. So without further ado, let's go. Tigers. I'm going to say there's a few definitely for the Tigers that you could pick, but I'm going to say Justin Matamua. This is a guy who plays in the forwards, lock, back row, predominantly a lock. He had massive raps on him as a junior. Played Blues under 19s, I believe. I think he's only 21, which is why I have him as a breakout star. He came in, played a few games, and has looked okay. And I think the way that he's got the perfect game for how the NRL is going, in terms of he's a good strong ball carry as a lock. He also has a good passing game, can be a good link man between the ruck and the halves, and I think it gives you a few more attacking options if you are the West Tigers. It is kind of hard to find a spot for some guys on the Tigers side this year, which is really good if you're a Tigers fan. However, I do think Justin Matamua, but come the season's end, I think he'll be a mainstay in the West Tigers side for 2025 and beyond. So move on over to South Sydney now. This is a new signing. I tried to stay away from the rookies for this as well, because it's very easy to say, oh, this guy is the best young kid in the country, let's make him a breakout star. I wanted to have someone who has a bit more experience. However, with Souths, I couldn't really go past this guy. It's Jamie Humphries. I think he's going to absolutely announce himself to the NRL this year. Obviously, he's played one game for Manly at halfback and scored himself a pretty good try. However, it looks like he was being turned into a 9 by the Manly Sea Eagles as well, but I think that's going to be his spot for South Sydney. I think he'll start the year as a 14. He can play 7 as well. I think he's literally such a gun. So I think Jamie Humphries will start the year as the 14 for South Sydney, and then I think by the season's end, hopefully for South Sydney fans, come finals time, I think Jamie Humphries will be the starting 9, and super influential. This is a guy who I honestly think, give it maybe 2 or 3 seasons, his name's going to be in Origin talks. I rate this kid so highly. Then we'll go over to the Parramatta Eels. New signing for them, Jack Williams. Obviously, we don't know how Jason Ryles is going to play and what his plans are and that sort of thing, but I think there's a pretty good football player in Jack Williams. Hard-working. He certainly he can run a pretty good line. He's just stuck behind a couple good second rowers at the Cronulla Sharks. And I think he's certainly going to prove his worth this year at the Parramatta Eels. And I think he'll make that jump, not necessarily to a representative level player in 2025, but he's certainly going to be, I think, a starter for the Eels, and be giving out some very, very good valuable minutes. I'm going to go to the Titans. This guy, technically, I think, is a rookie. He has played for Australia in another code, so I don't think he actually, think in terms of the Rookie of the Year award, I don't think he is eligible, but that's Carter Gordon for the Titans. Now, look, they played him at centre, they played him at 5'8". I feel like 5'8" is his spot moving forward. He's got an unbelievable long ball. There's a clip of him playing for Tweed Seagulls in Q Cup, and he just gave the best pill out of absolutely nowhere to a winger, setting him up for a try. And I think it's going to sort of sort out the spine issue at the Titans. I think by the end of the year, they're going to have Keanu Kinney at fullback, Carter Gordon at 6, Kieran Foran at 7, waiting for Tommy Weaver to blossom and come through for when Kieran Foran retires, then Sammy Verrills at 9. And I think that's how it's going to be. I know it sounds massive that you don't have AJ Brimson or Jaden Campbell there, but it's just, look, the NRL is ruthless. I think that's going to be the best thing for them moving forward. That's just my opinion, Titans fans. You let me know what you think about that. You're probably going to scream at me and say Jaden Campbell has to be there, which fair enough. He's a very good player. I do think he needs to be in 17 somewhere, but I think Carter Gordon gives you the best chance of making finals and being a consistent finals team moving forward anyway. Then we go to the Warriors to talk about a former Titan, and that's going to be Tanner Boyd. I think there's a great player in Tanner Boyd. If you watch his junior highlights, him just David Fifita was made to look good by Tanner Boyd. I think he's a good player, handy goal kicker. And the Warriors don't have a 7 going into this year because of Sean Johnson leaving, retiring, obviously. So I think there's definitely the opportunity for him to make a stance there, out of the spotlight, out of the headlines, a fresh new start. I think Tanner Boyd can be a fantastic signing for the Warriors and help lead them around the park in 2025. Then we go to the Broncos. We've been talking about this guy for a few years, but I think this year is the year he really stamps his authority and announced himself as an NRL player, and that is Blake Mozer. The number 9 spot, obviously occupied by Billy Walters at the moment. He's handy, I guess, but Blake Mozer has the potential to be one of the better 9s we've ever seen. And like that's really not that much of a hyperbole. Great defender, good with silky ball skills around the ruck, good running game as well, big frame. I think Blake Mozer, again, like a few of these guys I've sort of already spoken about. I think by the conclusion of the 2025 NRL season, Blake Mozer will 100% be in the starting side, and hopefully, again, for the Broncos fans, that they're in the finals. I believe Blake Mozer will be turning 21 or 22 this year. Like it's about that time where it's okay. Let's start to see what you can really do. I think Madge Maguire will get the best out of him. From reports that I've heard, he's been as they say, training the house down. So Blake Mozer certainly one to watch for the Broncos in 2025. Then we move over to my boys, the Dragons. Again, there's a couple of guys you could probably say here, but I'm going to go for Lockie Ilias. People are very quick to forget that in his rookie season, he got to a prelim final as a halfback. Now, obviously, he got a lot of scrutiny and flack because the Rabbitohs let go of club legend Adam Reynolds for him. And then as soon as the Rabbitohs started struggling, the Broncos went good, and everyone was sort of saying, well, did we make the right decision? And Lockie Ilias became the 4 guy. Then he went and got injured, broke his leg. It was unfortunate. He's been moved on. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder, a lot to prove. Again, a new situation. Was a Dragons fan as a kid, so he's going to absolutely love being there. He's knows the number 9 in Damien Cook there. I think Shane Flanagan is going to get the best out of him, and I think we will start to see Lockie Ilias start to scrape the surface of the potential that we know he does have. Then we go to the Dolphins. A lot of new signings here in this video. This one is going to be Finei Fuiaki. In his time at the Cowboys, he showed he's got a stellar potential. And just with new bigger minutes, bigger role to play, Finei Fuiaki is really going to show that he's a great signing for the Dolphins, and is going to be pushing and putting his name in conversation as one of the better second rowers in the competition in my eyes. Then we go over to the Canberra Raiders. Now, obviously, they've got a bit of an aging forward pack in terms of Josh Papali'i. Looks like he's probably in his last season. Joseph Tarpanay's not getting any younger. And they've had a guy there for a few years who has looked the goods in terms of being a rookie and a big forward and a lot of potential. Captain New South Wales under 19s. That's Trey Mooney. I think, again, he's had a couple of years in New South Wales Cup to really apply his trade. Has been given a taste of NRL here and there from Ricky Stewart, and I think it's been great for his development just to sort of pull him in and out and say, all right, you're obviously an NRL level caliber player. Go out there, prove it to me. Take away some things, watch some video, learn what you did well, what you can improve on. Go back to New South Wales Cup, come back in a few weeks, and we'll see how you're going and develop his game from there. I think he's really going to have more of a role to play for the Canberra Raiders this year, a few more minutes, and he's definitely going to be showing again that he's one of those guys that we were going to see why he had so many raps on him as a kid, and then in a couple of years' time, maybe he's putting his hand up for a Blues jersey. Then we go to the Newcastle Knights. Now, here I'm going to talk about Matt Croker. I think he sort of embodies what the Newcastle Knights culture, everything is about. Kills it in fitness tests. Super, he's such a hard-working, talented player. I think he just deserves more minutes. He's definitely more of a player who's belongs in the middle of the park rather than on an edge. But I think you get a very solid 40-50 minutes out of Matt Croker, starting him, then give him a stint in the second half, and just go out there, just make 1,000 tackles, get your hands on the rock as much as you can. And I think as a very quality player, Matt Croker, and we'll start to see that this year, because I think he's 24, 25. Got a 1-year extension, so he's playing for his contract again. So I think we'll see the best out of Matt Croker in 2025. Then we go to Manly. Now, this one's interesting, and I did change it yesterday after watching an episode of The Manly Way on YouTube. I noticed this guy was leading every single fitness drill, every single time. He was coming first or second there all the time. And then there was a moment in there where they talked about a wooden spoon play and a golden ticket play. They showed the wooden spoon play and how it led to an opportunity and led to a try in the training session. Then they showed the gold medal play. And how just the effort off the ball and the consistency and just like put himself in the picture led to a good outcome. Jake Arthur. I know it sounds crazy, but Jake Arthur was pretty touted as a kid. He came through. He probably debuted a little bit early. Obviously under Brad Arthur. Like in that 2021 grand final, I'm pretty sure he was like 20. And we all know that halves, they get better as they age. Taylor Cherry-Evans not getting any younger. Obviously, you've got Luke Brooks there as well, so it's hard for him to get a spot in the halves. But I think potentially he could be playing 14, come and play a bit of a dummy half role when Cherry-Evans goes away for Origin, if he plays again this year. Then you bring Jake Arthur in for a few games, blood him there. I feel like he's going to play, because he's been playing pretty good footy in New South Wales Cup like last year. I think Jake Arthur might, like, honestly just be going so well that he just puts he has to be selected. A little bit like Tyron Wishart last year for the Storm, where it's like, oh, you could bring in Suafa-Longa, I could bring in this player, like, but he's just going so good that you have to pick him. So yeah, interesting selection from me with Manly, but I just think, like, from what I saw from that video, I got Jake Arthur propaganded. Yeah, I think he's could be in for a stellar season. Move on to the Bulldogs. This guy, I guess, like, he is a well-known name, and had a great year coming back last year. Yes, in terms of breakout stars for this guy, Bronson Xerri, I'm talking about, like, him putting his name up in lights for, like, an Origin debut kind of stuff. That's what I mean for him in terms of a breakout star. I guess, like, it's sort of very different player to player. But for me, Bronson Xerri, like, for him to have 4 years off the game of rugby league football and come back and play the way he did and pretty much just seamlessly slot into the NRL was crazy. His defensive reads were great, considering he hasn't been allowed to defend an NRL system for 4 years. And I think he's just going to, like, if that's how good he was after not being able to train and do anything for 4 years, imagine how good he's going to be after being able to do it for a year. Yeah, I do think Bronson Xerri, there's a fantastic player in there, and I'm happy for him that everything sort of worked out. And he was rewarded with a contract extension, and I think he's going to repay that faith this year and have another great season. For the Cowboys, I'm going with Zach Labart. Obviously, started the season in the centres last year for the Cowboys and picked up an injury that had him ruled out for the rest of the season. And I think with, obviously, Val Holmes and Kyle Felt leaving the club, they're certainly putting a lot of faith in their youngsters. He's 22 years of age, and he's a big frame. He's like 6'3", but he absolutely killed it against the Dolphins at the start of last year. And I think, like, we just got it again. We saw the surface of the potential that Zach Labart has, and I think in 2025, hopefully with a full season under his belt, we're really going to see him hit his straps and become a household name. Then we go to the Sharks. It's very interesting. Seemingly a lot of pressure on William Kennedy for his fullback spot, and that is because of this guy, Cade Dykes. He's a gun. Seriously, he's a freak. Picked up an ACL injury, I believe, at the start in preseason of last year, so he had all of last year off. But it's one of those unfortunate situations for Will Kennedy where it's like, he's obviously a high quality player. Didn't have the season he wanted to last year, and I still think with Will Kennedy is a really good player in there. And now that there's a bit of pressure on his spot, could bring the best out of him, but also could be to his detriment. And like Cade Dykes is rare, like they're ready to go. I believe he's played 1 or 2 first grade games, and he's showed like a stack of potential. And yeah, that's the guy for me to look out for in 2025 for the Sharkies. And then we go to the Roosters. Again, a guy where, like, I didn't really want to be putting too many rookies in this list, but is Robert Toya. They've lost so much experience in their outside backs. Like, both their centers essentially from last year, Joey Manu and Joseph Swali'i, aren't there this year. And Robert Toya has had raps on him for forever. And I even saw an interview recently with James Tedesco saying that, like, he has been, like, absolutely killing it at training. His main issue is his health. He's had so many injuries. I believe he's had shoulder injuries, knee injuries. There's been a bit going on for poor Robert Toya, but I think this year he finally is going to crack it. And yeah, that's the thing with the Roosters. Everyone's saying, like, what are they cooking? What are they cooking? Who are they signing? I think they've actually just, for once, got a pretty good crop of these kids coming through, and Robert Toya is one of those, and I reckon we'll see that in 2025. All right, 2 teams to go. The 2 teams for the grand final last year. Panthers, I'm going to put down Liam Henry. He announced himself a little bit last year, but I think this year we're really starting to go, right, this kid's got some stuff. He made like 70 tackles in an 80-minute game against the Dragons during the Origin period last year. He's just a goer. He's got so much about him. I think he's going to be great. Now, seemingly there's going to be more minutes in the 4-pack this year, obviously with James Fisher-Harris going. bringing in Isaiah Papali'i will take the most of that, but I think they're looking at towards Liam Henry and Lindsay Smith to have a bigger role. And I know Lindsay Smith played for Australia, but for me, Liam Henry is the guy out of those two that I see having a high ceiling and high potential. I think Liam Henry will be playing Origin footy within the next couple of years. Pin that one down. Then lastly, we're going to go to the Storm, and it's going to be Lazarus Vailepu, someone who was actually in the Penrith system, made his debut last year for the Storm. But again, seemingly with the Storm, there's a bit of a hole in their forward pack. Obviously, they've signed Stefano Utuikamanu this year, but I think they're going to have a front rotation this year of Kamakamika, Utuikamanu, Nelson Nasopa Solomona, and Vailepu. That's pretty nuts. Yeah, I think he's probably going to have a role 20, 30 minutes a game, and he's just going to go out there, absolutely terrorise people. Be a little bit like a Spencer Leniu role for the Storm. So there we have it. That is my breakout star from every single club in 2025. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you think there's a player different from your team who you think's going to have a big year, whether you agree or disagree with what I said, let me know in the comments, and we will see you in the 2025 NRL season. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more footy content. Remember to Scotty, drink your water, and Bradman, do your best. Cheers.